Welcome to the Gal's Guide to the Galaxy podcast, where a group of gals gather for you one cool thing around our topic of the month. Is it ancient history? Is it breaking news? Is it safe for work? Well, that's up to each gal. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Hello and welcome to the Gal's Guide to the Galaxy podcast. It is the start of STEM month, and I've got with me a new group of gal pals who are ready to dive into some science, technology, engineering, and math. But before we dig into our research and whip out our protractors and graph paper, let me introduce you to our lab partners for this month. First up, she blinded me with art. See what I did there? She's poetry in motion with her amazing portraits of women of history. It's Bonnie Fillenworth. Yes! Woo. Bonnie, tell the good people what you have been up to since last time.
I've been painting.
Sweet, as you should.
I've got a lot of exhibitions coming up, so I'm trying to get ready for them. I just did a painting of my choice for later this month. And I moved into a house.
You have a housey house-like thing.
Yes.
You have a mortgage.
Yes. I just paid it today.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Did it sting?
No.
Okay.
It was nice though, because I didn't have to pay it for a while. Because your mortgage payment, you don't have
right.
They made you wait. So I was like, yes.
See, so then you feel like you're ready for it. You're like, oh, no, I
a
gotta
couple
get
months
out
for free.
of jail free card. Yeah, oh, exactly. Oh, well, welcome to the club. It sucks.
Congratulations.
Exactly. Next up is our Trekkie who loves off the beaten things. She's an educator about non-traditional relationships. She's a professional cuddler, and she's the CEO of Starbase Indy, a fan-run convention that combines Star Trek, STEM, and humanism. Welcome back to Lisa Meese. What have you been up to since the last year that you have been on the show?
I've been up to a lot of things you mentioned.
I would think you have.
Yeah, lots of Starbase Indy. We've got a great show coming up this year.
Yes!
Working on my coaching practice, the non-traditional relationships. I'm blogging about that.
Sweet.
And I have a grown-up job now.
Building
learning ecosystems for corporations. That's fun.
Cool. I mean, of all the grown-up jobs to have...
I mean, yeah.
It sounds actually pretty cool.
I'm pretty excited. I have to convince people that learning in an organization doesn't mean go sit in training for 2 hours.
Right, exactly.
So trying to build in some of that technology to leverage better practices, and a lot of people rolling their eyes at me, but I'm used to that because that's what happens when you're around me, because I think about things a little differently.
I never roll my eyes around you, girl. I am always entertained, let me tell you. And learning something new all the time as well. So do not sell yourself short. It's the corporate world. Nobody wants to be there. I'm glad you are digging it. Sweet. As for me, I am Dr. Leah Leach. I'm the executive director of Gal's Guide to the Galaxy, and it's STEM month. Now, normally this is where I attempt to set the tone of our research theme with a little history and share some content that we have on galsguide.org. But this time in my research, I stumbled into some STEM-related puns, and I can't stop myself.
Don't stop yourself. Puns are fantastic.
Sweet. Yes. So for our beautiful listeners, go to the website, click on research, and you're going to find really lovely things like Alva Auxblad, who saved Sweden with vodka. We have that story. Hidden Figures Gals, the mother of Wi-Fi, Hedy Lamarr, and more. So cool. So I've done that, right? So I've covered the basis of go to the website. We've got awesome stuff. So you want to hear some cool science puns?
Yes.
All right. So I've collected the best ones. And by that, I mean these are all terrible. I'm just saying. So... Dun, 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 dun. So I was reading a book on helium, and I couldn't put it down. There it is. Never trust an atom, because they make up everything. Yes, I did that one. Love it. I love it. I make bad chemistry jokes, all because the good ones are gone. Are gone. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. I worried that one wouldn't work without it being written down, but yes. How do you organize a space party?
You plan it.
There it is. Yes. See? I dig it. What do you call an acid with attitude? It's amino acid. What do you do with a sick chemist? if you can't heal them, then you can't cure them. You might as well bury them. It's got helium and curium and it's got period.
Oh,
That was dark.
Sorry, I made
Did
a
you
chemistry
make a
joke and there
dark-
was no reaction.
dark-
Oh, brought it back. Brought it back. Now, I did find some actually like inspiring ones, you know, like let's say you just really love STEM puns, but you want something inspiring. So think like a proton, always positive.
No.
See, isn't that sweet? You are living, you are occupying space, you have mass, you matter.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if at first you don't succeed, try 2 more times so that your failure is statistically significant. I love that one. I was like, that is perfect. I always go with 3rd time's the charm, but no, you're just proving statistics. You got to go for the best of the odds. So, my last one is, I make terrible science puns, but only periodically.
Mm.
You're into those chemistry puns, aren't you? Mhm.
I love any kind of puns, but there was so many all in one thing. Well, I am up first this gloriousness because this Friday, the Friday after this airs, we are going to find out if Greta Thunberg, and I believe it's Thunberg, although I've heard Thunberg, but I'm very Swedish. The 16-year-old climate change activist, we're going to find out whether or not she wins the Nobel Peace Prize. Dun, dun, dun. So that is why I'm up first. Now, if she wins, and it's a very, very big if, I will put that out there, there's 301 other nominees.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a pretty big playing field. And they don't necessarily like say who the other nominees are, because I was scouring all over. But the other candidates know, and it's up to them whether or not they're releasing a press release and telling anybody and stuff like that. But if Greta won, she would be the youngest ever recipient, because Malala Yousafzai, oh, you always say it better.
I had to practice. It's Malala Yousafzai.
There you go. See, you always get that middle syllable that I can never get in there. I just blow right past it, and I hate that. But you have a glorious painting that features her.
Yes.
That's why you memorized it.
Yeah, because I had to name her all the time.
Right.
I had to look up a YouTube video of how to pronounce her name. And
Right.
I sat there practicing one night.
You're like, Will, hit this. But Malala was 17 when she won.
Huh?
So, yeah. So, I mean, like, very close. And she won in 2014. So it would be record-breaking if...
And she was nominated a few times before she actually won.
She was. Yes, exactly. So
even if Greta doesn't win this time, there's still time.
Absolutely. Yes, very much so. So, and if she doesn't win the Nobel Peace Prize, without a doubt, she has reached a zeitgeist. Like, people are aware of her, or at least they're willing to go like, well, that 16-year-old for climate, you know what I mean? Like, at least they've kind of like been putting those things together. So you girls have heard of her, right?
Yes.
Okay. What are your initial thoughts, or like, what do you know about her so far? It's not an in-depth quiz, and it's not a trick question. I'm just curious.
She is kind of right now the most visible member of a group of young women who are advocating for, saving the planet so they can use it when they grow up.
Right. The ones who have a real big stock in it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And she's been, like you said, she's captured this zeitgeist because she's been so visible, and she's been all over the news this week.
Yeah.
But she's certainly not alone in doing this work, and doing this work
Correct.
at a really young age.
Right. Exactly. Yes. It's not a new trail. It's a trail that's been blazed very, very well. But it has been a while since we have seen a young one, which is very, very nice, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, she just had her speech the other day at the climate conference, and I'm still like, I've been watching it a few times. How dare you?
I know, right?
I was like, it's
my
so
girl
good.
brought the mad.
Mhm.
I've got some quotes from it later in my thing, but yes, absolutely. Lisa, you look like you're trying to find something.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the other young climate activists that I know.
yes.
I've seen several of the articles about this.
Remember the Australian girl's name
I
from
don't
a
have
few
the
days ago?
Australian girl's name. I do have Water Warrior. Have you heard of her?
Yes.
Autumn Peltier. And then Myri Copeny is Little Miss Flint. Remember Little Miss
I
Flint?
love Little Miss Flint.
She's still fighting it. She's still fighting it. But she had a big rise in the, in the crisis, and with zeitgeist. visibility as well. And then another one who's actually on the rise because she is in New York City. She was also spoke at the UN, and she helped organize the first 2 global climate strikes in the month of September. So she is kind of like right there with Greta, but she's our NYC contingent. And I hate if I'm going to mispronounce her name, but it's Exai Bastida. There's an X in there, and it's going to confuse me regardless. Took me a while on Xena, y'all. I am dyslexic and not really great at my pronouns of which emphasis to put on which syllable. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and there's this is an article from the BBC where they're talking about a young man from Kenya who's doing activist work around deforestation and climate change and plastic pollution.
Yes.
People from the U.S., a young lady from the U.S. who is doing strikes outside the UN to build visibility.
Yes.
A young woman from India who's 15 and working again on this plastics issue because they're showing up everywhere.
Right.
Some pair of sisters from the UK trying to get some of those plastic toys out of kids' meals and do something more sustainable.
Right,
there.
Exactly.
And so there's this whole global movement right now of kids looking around and saying, so I'd like to live here for another 75 years.
Right.
And having to raise their voices because
it doesn't look like the adults
otherwise
are doing something.
Happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're like, hey, it's my future. And you guys seem to be playing with it.
Right.
So why don't I do some stuff? So, yes, absolutely. Well, do you guys want to know more about her? I'm going to say brief history.
Yes, please.
She is 16. And I didn't do a whole bunch of digging because, again, she's 16 and I want to be a creep out. All right. It's very different when I'm researching a lady that was born and died in the 1800s. Okay. It's a little different. But what I went with is what she has said about herself. On her TED Talk and also on her Facebook page. So she lives in Sweden, and when she was 8 years old, she first heard about climate change, and she understood that it was created by humans and our way of living. What she didn't understand is if humans broke the environment, why weren't they fixing it? Why wasn't it a bigger story? When she was 11, she became very ill. She fell into depression. She stopped talking. She stopped eating. Later, she was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, OCD, and selective mutism. She says, this is when you speak only when you feel it's necessary. In her TED Talk, she's like, and today I feel it's necessary. And there was thunderous applause. So she describes her diagnosis as being able to see things as either black or white. And she also calls her diagnosis as a superpower. So I really love that she embraces being different and that it allows her to see the world different and to kind of not deal with other people's bullshit because of it too. You know what I mean?
Well, and we know when we've done studies in organizations that having a different perspective basically adds like key points to the group.
Oh, absolutely.
And looking at the world differently. And we're so used to looking at diversity as characteristics and not thinking of mental frames and neurodiversity as part of that. But it really is.
I remember hearing NASA actively sought out people with dyslexia because they problem solved different. And as a person with dyslexia, I was like, yes, where's my space camp ticket? Because I am in. But yeah, it's just a different way of approaching the same problem over and over again. So yes, no, I love that she recognizes that. She sees climate change as either we lower the emissions and live, or we don't and we die. That's the black and white line that she has drawn. That is also the laser focus that she has with it as well. So in May of 2018, so barely a year ago, she was the winner of a writing competition about the environment, and it was published in a newspaper. And then she was invited for the first time to a climate change group. And so this is where the group was kind of talking about ideas of how they could bring attention to climate change, how they could actively do something. Well, one idea was a school strike, and it was actually inspired by the students at Parkland who refused to go back to school until after the school shootings, until something was going to be done. Greta says on her Facebook, quote, "So I developed the idea and I tried to get other young people to join me, but no one was interested. They thought that it was a Swedish version of 0 Hour March and it wasn't going to have a bigger impact. So I went on planning the school strike all by myself, and after that, I didn't participate in any more meetings." So August 20th, 2018, Greta took a very simple black and white sign and sat outside the Swedish parliament all by herself that said, I've seen a couple of different translations, like "Stop Climate Change Now" or "Start Climate Conversation." I've seen different translations. However, news crews started to arrive. Yes. A few months later in November, she did a TED Talk, and she also published a book as well. And all of the proceeds of the book, I know Bonnie's like, I'm getting on it. All the proceeds of the book go to charity. So it was one of those sort of things where she's like, no, because it was about spreading awareness of this issue and how to help. So in March of this year, in 2019, she was part of the global strike. And the global strike was 1.6 million people demanding climate change be declared a national climate emergency.
Well, that's a big curve from
I know.
1 to 1.6 million.
Right, exactly. Yes. And a lot of them, youth as well.
Right.
It was young people in the streets. Not all of them, but it was young people in the street. It was 125 countries were participating, and 2,000 cities were included in that too. So the TV channel Vice, who I usually watch on YouTube, Vice, they did a story about the march, and they show Greta saying, "We will be a pain in their arse until they do something." The fact that she used the word arse, I loved. Because it was like a little old soul, but it was a little like, you think I'm the 16-year-old in pigtails, but oh, I'm going to make us swear. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just like, you go, girl. And I got to start saying arse more frequently. She has been on the cover of Time. She spoke at British Parliament, and most recently in America, she spoke at the Congress and the amazing speech at the UN. She addressed her concerns directed to the world leaders. And this is the quote that I wrote down. Oh my God. So this is from the UN. "This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words." She continues to say, "For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics and the solutions are needed and they are nowhere in sight." And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah. With an angry face, too.
Yes.
She's mad.
Exactly.
And she's not lightening it. She's not looking to make jokes or
Not
smile
softening.
at anybody.
No.
It's like, no, screw you people. You're messing with my planet.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
That's that black and white approach of this is
Right.
what it is.
Yeah.
Fix it. Why don't you fix it? Yeah, it's actually kind of refreshing in a sense, because I think a lot of us, we put on a mask and it's like, okay, you got a spoonful of sugar. You know what I mean? Like you got to gently deliver this. I don't know how they're going to take this kind of difficult news that they're not doing enough, where she just comes in like a wrecking ball and be like, you guys are fucking it up. Why aren't you doing it? And it was a climate change meeting is the other thing too. It wasn't just like, oh, this is General Assembly. This is not a no. They were there for that. So I thought that was crazy. But yeah, she's very direct. When most of the time when I hear people talk about climate, they're very wishy-washy. You know what I mean? Well, we kind of got to do this and we kind of got to do that. And if the money's there and the science is there, and it's sure, but then nothing happens regardless. So yes. Now, because she's also very direct, she will polarize people. Because anytime you are very direct, it's just like you either agree or you don't. It's very hard to have a middle ground when somebody's being absolutely direct.
Well, and the message is polarizing, right?
Yes, very true. You believe it's a problem or you don't.
In this world, we've decided science is a polarizing issue, which is a little
weird,
strange to me also. But yeah, so that's a challenge, I think.
And it shouldn't be, but here we are. Exactly. But according to my fear-based social news feed, because that's what I call it, my social news feed is fear-based, it just kind of creeps into my world. There are asshats who are verbally attacking this girl about not her science, not her stance, not her hill she decided to die on her appearance, on her age, on her illness, and on her character. And I have really been trying to like avoid watching or reading those attacks because I fear that I'm going to go mama bear. You know what I mean? Like it's a 16-year-old girl and I'm going to be like, no. But have you gals seen any of these?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I mean, these are all things that people just attack their enemies on, right? And she has a very, like we said, very polarizing, very clear, direct message.
Right.
And, you know, we kind of can't get our heads straight. Should she sit down and shut up because she's a kid? Or,
right.
I mean, really, the folks who are saying that think anyone who disagrees with them should sit
Correct.
down and shut up.
Regardless,
So-
yeah. Very true. If you don't agree with me, then don't tell me.
Right.
There was a good meme going around the other day. I'm not sure if it's a meme. A little internet thing.
Yeah.
Said, y'all anti-abortion screwholes swear 16-year-olds are young women who should be aware that actions have consequences.
Oh.
Until a 16-year-old girl starts telling y'all yourselves because the planet is on fire, and suddenly a 16-year-old girls are children who know nothing.
Oh, that's a good point.
So
There's someone who has flipped it the other direction too, which is just horrific. It is stuck in my head because it's horrific. And said, if we are supposed to listen to this 16-year-old and treat her like an adult, then maybe Jeffrey Epstein's girls weren't, you know, being mistreated.
Somebody loves to start fires.
People actually believe this, and maybe the planet isn't worth saving. That's what we think. I mean, I think there's more people worth saving than not, but
I believe
some of
karma's
them
a
are
thing,
not.
and yeah, whatever you got to do to justify yourself, man.
Right?
Wow.
we know whose computers to start investigating.
Right, exactly. Somebody knows.
Yeah.
Let's start with that one. That's my thought. But yes, I have this quote that I know like all too well as soon as I kind of start seeing this like going down, which is, if they can't kill your dreams, they assassinate your character. And that's one that it's from the old filmmaking world, honestly, that I kind of learned. I was like, oh, but you know what? Here's the awesome thing. Like, it shook me. It does not shake Greta at all, according to what she's saying. You know, at night, who knows? It's fine. She doesn't have to tell us. But she'll still, you know, in the media as her persona, she says the immature bullying and that kind of childish playground kind of name calling sort of thing. She basically says, quote, when the haters go after your looks and differences, it means they have nowhere left to go. And when you know you're winning. I have Asperger's, and that means sometimes I'm a bit different from the norm. And given the right circumstances, being different is a superpower. So yeah, she's like, I don't have time. But that's, to me, it really is like, that's her laser focus. You know what I mean? That is part of her diagnosis, but it's also her superpower, which is, you're going to make fun of how I look. How does that fix the environment? Like, how does that fix climate change? I got no time for you. I'm fixing the, you know what I mean? Yeah. I've got a purpose that is stronger than this right now. So yes. There's also this fabulous meme, and I saw it first on Bonnie's thread. And then I shared it myself, but I got to share this one because it puts Greta in a historical context as well. Yes, this was the one I shared. Yes. So it says, those commenting on Greta Thunberg, I got to keep remembering that it's Thunberg, would do better to remember that Joan of Arc led an army, Jane Austen wrote her first work, Anne Frank kept a journal, and Malala won the Nobel Prize at the same age. Young women are fierce when changing the world. So no, I love this, and I shared this. And then I knew I was going to share it on the podcast, so I had to fact check it. Guess what? Not entirely accurate. However, I made a new meme because it's not far off. I mean, Greta is 16. She was 15 when she first did her strike. But Joan of Arc, she was 17 when she was a soldier for Charles VII. Mm-hmm. Jane Austen was 12 when she started her first work, but she was 18 when she finished it. Mm-hmm. Anne Frank was 13 when she started writing in her diary, and she was 15 when she died. And, at the top of this whole thing, I said the Malala was 17. So not exactly the same age, but the sentiment is there. Yes,
minors.
If there was a word that said almost the same age, I would have been like historically accurate. So I made a new graphic and I kind of changed it up, but the sentiment is the same because I think especially with us covering women of history, it's always like, oh, that was another time, and we can't grounded in something. So seeing a 16-year-old, really, really making a stand and almost getting an army behind her sort of thing. It's like, all right, so now relate that to, I don't know, Joan of Arc. You know what I mean? Same sort of pisses people off, but then also causes change and will be remembered forever. You know what I mean? So there's that kind of historical context to it.
Throw in another young lady that people forget about?
Please.
Sybil Ludington.
Oh, yes.
She was 16 in a day. This happened after her birthday.
Right.
Rode through the night to alert militia. Mm-hmm. Rode twice the distance as Paul Revere and actually completed her mission. Uh-huh. Why Paul just made it 1.5 miles down the road and got captured by the British. And he had 2 helpers. Uh-huh. But
girl did it on her own all night.
With a stick. She had a giant stick. She was whacking on people's doors.
Yes, exactly. I love her. And there's a statue for her, too, on horseback. And I love
very
her.
Fierce.
I think, actually, she needs more name recognition out there.
Mm-hmm.
I love her. So, absolutely. So, why do you guys think that people connect with Greta? And do you connect with Greta? Is there something when you see the picture of her, you're like, yeah, go get it, girl. Because to me, that's a connection. You know what I mean? Do you guys have that?
She has that fierceness. Mm-hmm. She has that unapologetic. The world has not yet convinced her that her voice should be muffled.
Correct. Mm-hmm. It's that thing we all wish we still had.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And she may or may not ever lose that.
And I hope not.
I hope not, too.
Mm-hmm.
And she's passionate, and this is an important piece of creating change.
Yeah, exactly.
Clearly, this is something that she's passionate about and believes in,
and wants to change,
and wants to change.
Yeah, she's got skin in the game.
She likes this planet. All her stuff is here, moving such a bother.
I know. Mm-hmm. We can't really go anywhere else at this moment.
When we get to my episode on Mae Jameson, we'll talk a little bit about that.
Oh, you're gonna give me hope.
Well, it is called the 100-Year Spaceship Project.
You're gonna give my great grandchildren some hope.
Assuming, the planet lasts that long. Yeah.
Assuming that my children have children. I'm not pushing it on anybody.
There's no planet B.
Exactly. Very much so. Do you connect with Greta?
I love her. She is so serious and sincere about her message. Doesn't seem like she's backing down at all.
Right.
I love, there was a picture of her in the background when Trump was walking over.
Over Trump's shoulder.
She's giving him the death glare. It's so great.
It was a perfect over the shoulder shot.
She's 16. All these grown ass men on the internet are scared of a 16-year-old girl.
I know, right?
Calm down. No, but I would.
I'm stay afraid. That's where I'm at.
What just popped in my head is I would love to see Malala and Greta get together.
Super team. Wonder Twins activate. Yes. Oh my God.
So great. Malala travels all around when she's not in school.
Right, exactly.
So I'm sure she could make that happen.
She's at Harvard or Cambridge or Oxford?
She's at Oxford.
Okay, there you go. I know she's at a British Ivy League school. Harvard is not a British.
I was going to say, wait, did they move? I mean,
yes, no, they moved it. It was last night. It was really. They didn't want to tell many people. They're just like, Leah, can you tell it on the podcast that just let people know that they moved Harvard?
Let people know.
I'm here to help. Absolutely. So yes, no, I love her. I relate to her. I think it's that same thing that Lisa was talking about. It's that she hasn't yet turned off that I can change the world-ness. Because I know that, you know, when I was younger, it was like, I can change the world. And then I reached an age where it's like, I don't want to do anything. Just don't talk to me. Don't look at me. I don't want to mess anything up. Like, can I be smaller? And then eventually, like, you kind of reclaim that little girlhood where it's like, I can do anything. And then you actually, like, do the thing that you do. But, I mean, for me, like, it had to wait till I was 30. And I'm like, damn, that's a lot of wasted time. I also love her because I see my children in her, too, I think is part of it. Because she really only speaks when there's something to say, and that's my little Sammy. And then when she goes off on a tirade, that is my little Cammy with like facts and statistics, and it's like, no, this is how it is. She's a Libra. She's very like, it is balanced. You know what I mean? There is weight and dividends in the world. So I love her. Yes. So that is my one cool thing. Dun, dun, dun.
And, you know, hopefully if she's successful, we will cool another thing, which is the planet.
Wouldn't that be nice? Let's do that. I think that's a great idea. I dig it. Well, that wraps it up for us this week. Join us next week as our next gal pal shares her one cool thing as Gal's Guide to the Galaxy podcast continues. Thanks for listening. For show notes, links, and images from this week's show, visit galsguide.org. Want exclusive stuff like deleted bits and major bloopers? Become a Gals Guide patron today. Thanks for listening.